now we are thinking, we are listening, we are trying to remember, we are reasoning, and so on. So it is called as the cognitive. Okay, so it is pretty interesting. This science is study about this cognitive. So it means that when we are doing something for the thinking, in which part of our brain is affected by this activity. Okay, so it is the reality, and this is a good example. For example, it can be used for games, like in this figure. It can be training for doctors, because in the doctors they can do the surgery by using the machineries that we have studied before in the biomedical engineers. So they also use they need the learn of the cognitive science how to perform this surgery, and then it could be also used for the training tools for autistic adults. All right, okay, so it is they have the many fields, yeah, okay, to be interested. Some other opportunities for cognitive science graduates include jobs in research, marketing, education, the government intelligence, healthcare, and product design. Baik, bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Saya ucapkan terima kasih kepada semua peserta yang sudah hadir pada tepat waktu. Baik teman-teman semuanya, seperti saya sampaikan di webinar kemarin, insya Allah Career Counseling Department melalui webinar seriesnya akan menggunakan bahasa Inggris untuk penyampaian, karena ada juga peserta yang berasal dari internasional tidak bisa berbahasa Indonesia. Okay, so thank you for attending this webinar. So it is Career Counseling Department webinar series, Introduction to College Majors, that we are focused on the college majors or degree in the university. And we are going to discuss about the cognitive science for this webinar. All right, so before we start the presentation of this cognitive science, I would like to know your idea or your guess maybe. So what is the cognitive science? What do you think? You can write on the chat. Okay, I will write on the chat. You can write what are the cognitive science. So my question is, what is cognitive science, or something that you know maybe it's related with some field or some study? You can say it. Okay, so please write on the chat box. What is cognitive science? What do you know about the cognitive science before? Did you get any idea? Maybe it is related with math, it's related with biology, or is it related with physics, or is it the engineering, or is it in the medicine, and so on. So you can please guess it. What is the cognitive science? Okay, you can write on the okay. Okay, so let's wait your answer for 1 minute. I think it's enough to write what do you know about the cognitive science. And then please don't forget, you can ask the question in Q&A. You can ask in Bahasa Indonesia and also in English. Okay, it's no problem. You can write anything. And then at the end of the session, there will be the evaluation form that you have to fill. Okay, so there are some questions that ask also. You can answer those questions. All right, so from the participants, some of you answer as the is related with biology, and then is it psychology? Okay, some of you also it is engineering, and also with the science. Yes, because there is the science there, so it's related with the science. Okay, so it is not the but for this cognitive science, it is pretty interesting. It is also related with the social science, also with the language. Okay, so it is not only with the biology, but also with the language, the computer. The computer is also related with the cognitive science. Okay, we are going to discuss about this later. Okay, thank you for your participation. Yes, you know about this cognitive science before, but don't worry if you do not have any information about this. We will explore about this college major. All right, so like usual for this webinar, inshallah, we are going to discuss the first one, the description or what is the cognitive science. After that, the benefits is important here. Why do you need to study cognitive science? And then plan of study. So there are core and also advanced courses in the university. So what are the courses that you are going to study in this? Okay, and then skills. What are the required soft and hard skills that are needed for in order for you to study this college major? And then the job opportunities, the job prospects. What can you do with this degree? And then the last one is about the university. So the university in the world, actually, for most of the universities, they do not provide this cognitive science as the major. It is in the psychology major, so it is different in psychology department. For the some university, it is very interesting. They research and do the specific one. So it is for the major, we call it major. So we are going to discuss some university in abroad that use this that has this degree. All right. So next, the description of this cognitive science. Okay, you have written in the chat. That's very good. That is related with many fields like the psychology and that's related with the science and so on. So it is the program that focuses on the study of the mind. So we focus on the mind here. Is you listen or you have read before maybe about the cognition. It is related with the mind in the brain. So like the thinking, the intelligence. So this program or the degree will focus mainly on the study of the mind. All right. So the first one here. For the cognitive science, it is the scientific study of the human mind. Why? Because if we see the definition from the dictionary about the cognitive means that relating to being or involving conscious intellectual activity. So if there is any conscious intellectual activity, such as now we are thinking, we are listening, we are trying to remember, we are reasoning and so on. So it is called as the cognitive. Okay, so it is very interesting. This science is study about this cognitive. So it means that when we are doing something for the thinking, in which part of our brain is affected by this activity. But it develops in the future and also from now in the 21st century. There is some field in this cognitive science. They study about the AI. Okay, so I think that you are familiar with this term AI, this artificial intelligence. This cognitive science also, they want to try how the robots or the program, they can talk. Okay, they can talk like human being. It means that they can also there is the intellectual that they are going to do some activities. All right, so this is a very broad of these fields, and then it consists of many interdisciplinary fields, such as from the psychology, computer science. All right, so it is interesting, right? It is not only psychology. If you are talking about from the human being, the human mind, but we can also process something in the human mind to be applied in the computer science, for example, in the AI and in the robotics also. And then the linguistics, the language that when the people are talking, how to learn a new language and so on. So it is also learned in the cognitive science. And also there is the philosophy and neuroscience. Okay, so if you are talking about neuroscience, it is very developing. When there is many new researches about the neuroscience, we can read from the journals, from the research about how our brains do some amazing things that we do not know before. So we haven't explored 100% about what are in our brains. So it is really the interesting field that we need to study. All right, and then the active areas of this research, cognitive research, include the language, the memory, visual perception, and cognition, thinking and reasoning, social recognition, decision making, and cognitive development. All right, so if we see here, there's the social cognition also. This is not only for the human being, only individual's mind, but how the interaction between the among the people. So there is the social cognition there. So it must be also learned. After that, can this be applied to the computer? Maybe it can be applied to the robotics. They can do some work together. Okay, so these are the active areas of this research in these fields. And then the study of cognitive science, it also related with the departments of the philosophy. They understand the mind, understand the brain are ultimately inseparable. Okay, so when there is the question maybe in the human cognition, and the question maybe can be productively addressed in molecular, for example, in the cellular neuroscience. So if there is the question, how does this model work, they can explore to the neuroscience level, to our nerve cells. Okay, so in the neurons and how the process works, and they can apply this process also for another field like in the computer. All right, so I think for this explanation is enough to introduce about this cognitive science, the description of this measure. Please remember that this one is not only about the biology, about the brain, but it's also about the about other fields. Okay, I will show you some video that explain about this. This is pretty interesting about this video. You can watch at the moment. Okay, when there is the computing, for example, in the computer, it is also related with this field. It's not only about the human mind. All right, so let me share this video.
It is the holistic study of the mind that pulls from other disciplines, namely philosophy, science, anthropology, and computer science. Each subfield of cognitive science aims to answer different questions about the mind, like how does culture and shared knowledge influence the way people interact with and perceive the world around them? What are ways that we could teach machines to mimic the way humans process information? How does language learning come so naturally to infants? Or when life presents us with two paths we could go down, it's amazing that we're able to pull from our past experiences as well as predict future events to make an informed decision. Or that we could visualize numbers in the form of graphs and equations. We are able to perceive the flower in front of our eyes and admire its color, texture, and inherent beauty. These high-level processes all link back to some network in our brains. Neuroscience aims to decode and uncover the mysteries behind the underlying hardware that makes all of this possible. Neuroscience is the study of the nervous system, which largely involves the brain. Understanding the brain's anatomical structure is crucial towards mapping out the functions of each part. It allows us to get a better picture of how neurons wire together to form an incredibly complex network, and how these neural circuits give rise to those high-level processes that humans can perform. What distinguishes neuroscience from other disciplines, and how could cognitive science borrow from its research methods? Neuroscience tends to take a more biological approach to studying the brain in order to answer questions concerning the physical mechanisms behind behavior. Neuroscience research tends to use animals like mice to study the brain's anatomy and physiology, since it turns out that mice brains share quite a few similarities with human brains. Neuroscientists also probe directly into mice brains to stimulate or observe the firing rates of certain regions as they perform tasks, like navigating physical space or learning and association. This way, we could directly view and track neural activity. Scientists also delete gene sequences to create knockout mice, in order to observe the effects of inactive brain areas. We could also observe neural activity with human subjects using neuroimaging techniques. Each have their own pros and cons, but in any case, it's amazing that these technologies allow us to look into our brains non-invasively. Neuroscience is clearly valuable to cognitive science's quest to better understand the mind. Their intersection lies in cognitive neuroscience, which studies the biological processes of cognition with a particular focus on neural connections. It uses theory from cognitive science, while borrowing research methods of neuroscience, psychology, and computational modeling.
All right, so it is pretty interesting here. As you saw from this video, the field of this degree is also in the psychology and linguistics, and also the philosophy that we saw before, and it is related with the neuroscience, the one that we learn about the brain. Okay, so because brains also has the many to compute, to do analysis and critical thinking and so on. So we use our brain, of course, and then we can study how well we can optimize our brain and how we can relate it with the technology. Maybe we can apply this one for the technology also. All right, I think this pretty interesting for this part of the neuroscience. This is called as the cognitive science. Okay, so next, let's see the benefits of this degree. So it also provides some benefits that can be earned later on if you study this cognitive science. So why do you need to study this degree? The first one, the first benefit is because we know this one has a wide array of disciplines. They have many fields. So literally you can make the cognitive science measure what you want to be. So you want to be the AI, for example, the expert in AI, that's also possible. You want to be from the in the linguistics, that's also possible, or in the psychology and so on. So by learning about the cognitive science, many information can be applied not only for the brain to study in the medicine and so on, but it also for the technology. Okay, so we can say that from this sociology to data analytics. Okay, and then for example, the linguistics that are learned can be applied to AI, and then after that, they can express the language, or how they express when we are doing something. They must be saying maybe for the words of the thank you, but they have to learn how to apply this to the AI so that they can also speak or like give the expression of the human beings. Okay, so they can study from the cognitive science. Okay, next, other benefit is if you study cognitive science, you will have the freedom to be flexible and specific in the studies at the same time. It means that during the undergrad programs in the cognitive science, you can also do some research, because most of the courses are also in the research areas. So we'll cover later on. So it is not only a prescription of classes, but rather it is by how much of a given field you are interested in. For example, there is some areas like AI, and then linguistics, robotics, computer science, and psychology. So they will give another valuable set of opportunities because you will get the freedom to be at once flexible and specific. For example, you want to study about the artificial intelligence AI, so you can study specific for that one by using the cognitive science. But while studying about the AI, you also study about all the function of the, for example, about the sociology, how the human being interacts by using the brain and so on. So that is what it meant by having the freedom to be flexible. Okay, even though you are focusing on AI, for example, but you still learn how this interaction with the technology, and we can apply the information from the social interaction of human beings. Okay, so another benefit, it is a variety of opportunities for undergrad research and internship within the major. All right, so because of the training of the technology, and by using the computer for the analysis also, so this degree is also developing, and they have the great opportunities that if you want to do a research or the internship in this department, and also possible in the, for example, in the major companies, in the technology companies. So there are many opportunities to apply the knowledge that are studying in the this degree. All right, next is another benefit: developing new technologies that interact with humans. Yes, that is the interaction here, right? If we are learning about the cognitive science, it means that we are going to developing the new technology that can act, that can interact like human beings. Okay, so it is the reality, and this is a good example. For example, it can be used for games, like in this figure. It can be training for doctors, because in the doctors they can do the surgery by using the machineries that we have studied before in the biomedical engineers. So they also use they need the learn of the cognitive science how to perform this surgery, and then it could be also used for the training tools for autistic adults. All right. Okay. So it is they have the many fields. Yeah. Okay. To be interested. Some other opportunities for complete science graduates include jobs in research, marketing, education, the government intelligence, healthcare, and product design. Okay. So and then this is the benefits of this degree. And then what are the core and advanced courses of cognitive science? Okay, the first one, we are going to see the core courses. It means that the ones that you need to study in the first year of this degree. The core courses is like the foundation of the cognitive sciences, cognitive anthropology, artificial intelligence, the science of linguistics,